It's the 330th day of the calendar year, and weirdly enough, only 32 days after that until the end of the year. It's sometimes Black Friday, but never Thanksgiving. It's the anniversary of a revolutionary invention, of a competitive tradition, and of a radical religious renovation. And last, but most selfishly important to me, it's my birthday! I'll present if I want to. And lucky for you, I do want to. That's because being born on November 29th makes me a Sagittarius. Half human, half horse. A lover of curiosity and of learning. And apparently I'm a really good archer too. So excuse the bad puns, but let me shoot us back into 1775. At this time, the American Revolution was underway. George Washington was employing whatever troops and espionage tactics he could find. And on this day, in 1775, a new type of invisible ink was invented. The creator was Sir James Jay, brother to one of the founding fathers. In Jennifer Wilcox's book, Revolutionary Secrets, Cryptology in the American Revolution, George Washington calls it a sympathetic stain, but it's also known as white ink. Unlike previous secret inks, such as with lime juice that you have to apply heat and can potentially burn your house down in a flame for a visual aid, which is not worth it. This secret ink was a two-part system of tannic acid and ferrous sulfate. Even though it was heavily used after its creation, James Jay hadn't received any payment for his supply or creation or work. And it wasn't until after the war that he asked President Thomas Jefferson, not much after, for compensation, that he sadly still didn't receive it. While invisible ink was invented on this day may have helped the Americans to win their freedom from Great Britain, this day also marks the beginning of another great American tradition, a battle between Army and Navy on the football field. In 1890, the first ever Army football game was held, and it was played on the Plain at West Point. And while this is an Army proud house, the Navy walked away with a win that day. According to the www.army.mil website, Navy won the game 24-0. But I love this. The Army website goes on to say that although the Navy team had been playing football since 1879, while the Army team was newly established. What else was newly established is one of the oldest and still going rivalries in school football, a time-honored tradition. While November 29th might be a day for starting traditions, it's also known as the day of one of the longest traditions ever across everywhere was broken. On November 29th, James M. Toole paints the scene in his book, The Faithful, A History of Catholics in America. Parishioners sitting in their places that morning knew something was different from the moment Mass began. Dun, dun, dun. It kind of sounds like a horror film, right? Instead of describing Catholic Church, well, spoiler alert, no subtitles needed. The new Mass was implemented in the United States. CatholicCulture.org describes it, the use of vernacular language. Now, I think my favorite part of this is that the church didn't announce the change. They just jumped right into it. And let me jump to conclusions. At first I was a little nervous, but how boring November 29th was going to be. I mean, the year I was born, the only thing that showed up was a gay wedding aired on a TV show. But as I looked in further to it, throughout history, I realized that these events were pretty fitting for me. An invention, a competitive tradition, and definitely my favorite, breaking long-held Catholic tradition. Now, I'd say these were cake-worthy events to share on my birthday.